My name is Dan Harris. I'm a beekeeper. One of the most common laments I get from new beekeepers, and even some who've kept bees for a while, is that they find it a challenge to get a smoker lit in such a way that it'll remain lit for an extended period of time. So they get a quick flush of smoke, they go to work, and within a matter of minutes, the fire's gone out. I'm going to show you how I do mine, and maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, or maybe you'll even have ideas you can give me and improve my technique. It works for me, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily the best way of doing it. I'll start by saying, and I've said this in earlier posts, that I use pine straw as my fuel. It's fuel of choice in the southeast U.S., largely because it's readily available, it lights easily, and it makes copious amounts of smoke. So it's really great as a fuel. The downside of it is it produces a lot of creosote, which bogs things down a good bit. And I want to tell you before I start that you notice that the top of my smoker is open. At the end of any kind of beekeeping activity, one of the first things I do then is empty the smoker, get all the burning fuel out, make sure the fire's out, and I store the smoker with the lid like about so. I don't close it. I don't leave it smoldering, because I'll tell you, by the next time you go to use it, if it's been closed and you left the flame going, that creosote will have dried and cured, and that top will be glued down, so it'll be almost impossible to get it open again. So just something to think about, in addition to getting it lit, and that's how to stop it at the end of the day, store it so that it'll be readily usable the next day. All right, pine straw, fuel of choice. Again, it lights pretty easily. So the first thing I do is I get a handful of pine straw, like so, and it's not heavily packed, it's not a great big massive amount, it's just a glob of pine straw. Glob is a technical term, by the way. I light it, like so, and I let the fire get a little bit of a start, and I put it down in the smoker, and I push it to the bottom, but I don't pack it. And that's really the key. We start out with a flame, and that flame can bridge distances, so it's not packed tightly, but the flame can actually go from one blade of the pine straw to the next, so it can continue to expand with the fuel that I give it. The second part of not packing it tightly is it allows for a lot of air, easy airflow through the smoker. So you see, I'm not doing anything, but it's smoking to beat the band. And I don't have to use any kind of bellow activity, although I will use some bellows before I'm done. But again, I want a good fire started before I start to pack this thing tightly. It doesn't mean I really leave it loose. Again, look at that bundle of pine straw, and it's relatively compressed, but it isn't what I'd call packed. And so I begin to add fuel to it. Again, gradually, again, I'm not packing it. The key here is to be patient. If you're patient on this end of the process, you'll find yourself less frustrated on the other end. So again, I've hardly even used those bellows, but you see the smoke is going great, just gangbusters. Again, it's easy for the air to flow through. It's easy to fuel those flames. Those flames are expanding. I'm adding fuel, but I'm still not packing it. Still a lot of air motion, and I'll continue to add fuel until I'm confident, and the key, in part at least, is to have that nice, white, rich looking smoke like that. And as long as you've got that going, the fire is burning actively, and it's vigorous, and it's expanding, and that's what you want. So now that I've got a bit of fuel in there, I'm going to turn this way. It's a little easier for me. See, good. Then I'll begin to pack it. And I'll pack it, and it depends on how long I intend or need to use that smoker as to how much fuel I put in and how much I pack. But right now I'm packing it tightly. So what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to restrict the airflow by packing it in there. The core, for want of a better description, the core coal bed now is relatively large, and the fire is going, but there's no more flame. It's more of a coal bed, a slower burning coal bed. Packing the pine straw in now tightly reduces the natural airflow so that the fuel doesn't burn too quickly. It also, because it's now a coal bed, it needs to have the fuel, it needs to be in physical contact with the next piece of fuel that begins to burn. So it's on the bottom of the smoker, and remember, always start a smoker from the bottom. Light the fuel from the bottom. Be sure to do it from the bottom. You pack it at the end. You make sure you have a good base started before you pack it. Patience. Patience is the key. And as you see, I'm packed pretty tightly in there. And I can pack this thing. I'm just kind of getting it started right now. It's packed tightly. You see, it's not that free flow of white smoke that we had earlier because the airflow, the natural airflow, is restricted. But it'll still sit there and smolder. And that fuel, if I pack that thing full, or even a shorter smoker, if I pack it full and pack it hard, once I've got it lit relatively hard, it'll burn for hours and hours and hours and hours. So that's how I start a smoker. I'm going to go out here, annoy some bees. They'll surely annoy me right back. There we go. I appreciate you watching.